Today we will discuss the concept of service and operating costing. So, what is service costing and what is operating costing? First, we will discuss these two concepts. Now, operating costing method is one designed to ascertain and control the costs of the undertakings which does not produce products but which render services. This is also known as service costing, right? So, operating costing is a cost of rendering services, and it is the cost of producing and maintaining a service. So, what are the examples? The examples are like hospitals, right? Canteens, transport services, distribution services like supply of electricity, gas, etc. Right? So they, because of their nature of product, right? They need some special type of cost record maintenance, right? And uh, which is useful for the decision making purposes. Service costing, service or operating cost is the cost of providing service, right? Cost of providing service and sorry, cost of providing service. The term service costing is applied to describe the system used to find the cost of performing a service such as transport, gas or electricity. So here the services rendered to customers are of unique and standardized type. So distinguishment between the fixed cost and the variable cost is of special importance as the scale of operations considerably affects the cost per unit of service rendered. A large chunk of total capital is invested in fixed assets and relatively less working capital is required. For example, the power supply companies, the fixed asset requirement is very high, right? But working capital requirement is relatively less. The method of costing is different from that used in connection with production, and differences lie mainly in the manner of accumulating the cost data and its allocation to cost units, right? So what do we do? That is for accumulation, accumulation of cost data and its allocation of cost units. It is slightly different from the way it is being done in manufacturing companies. In the previous session, when we were discussing about the job costing, we primarily considered the manufacturing companies, that in a manufacturing company how the cost of a particular job is measured. So today we will discuss about that how in a service oriented firm, right, for example the hospital or transport services, etc., how the cost needs to be determined. But the reason is same as we discussed earlier, that we need to determine the cost because we have to do pricing, and we should know that how much we are incurring for generating one unit of service, right? And our, at the end of the day, our business should be profitable. So in case of cost unit selection, uh, it depends upon the business, right? Depends upon the industry. Say for example, a company which is engaged into passenger transport, right? So that there the cost unit can be, say, passenger kilometer per mile. For goods transport, it may be ton, mile or kilometer, right? For hotel lodging, right? For hospitality industry, hotel lodging, it may be per bed, per person or per day. Hospitals, it can be per bed or per day or per operations, per patient, per test, per x-ray, etc. For electricity, it can be say kilowatt hour, right? Boiler house, it can be kilograms of steam supplied. Cinema, for a cinema movie theater, it can be man show, right? For canteens, it can be meals served or cups of tea sold. Gas works, it can be per 100 cubic feet produced, and for water supply it may be per 1000 gallon. Fine. So, you see, in each case the cost unit is varying. Cost unit is varying according to the nature of the business, right? So, that is what we do. So, now what we can do is so, now we need to classify the costs, right. So, we can classify the costs into primarily three categories. First one is the fixed cost or standing charges, right. Second is semi-variable cost or manufacturing charges. Third is variable cost or operating running charges, right. Now, what are the characteristics of these costs? These undertakings render unique services to their customers. They invest large proportion of their capital in fixed assets. The requirement of working capital comparatively is less, and the operating cost is divided into fixed and variable, and they are of utmost interest. So, these are the basic characteristics of service costing or operating costing. So, we are taking first, because as we have seen, as we discussed, that the costing procedure in case of service costing, it is different from each other because of the nature of business or the nature of the final product or service that the company is delivering, right. So, we will see that it is though the basic tenets are similar, but the process of execution is different. Now, you see, we are taking a case of first the transport costing. So, what is the objective of transport costing? The objective of the transport costing is ascertaining the rates of carriage of goods or passengers on the basis of operating costs, because the business of a transport service is the carriage of goods and passengers. So, it needs to charge, right, to the passengers or the people who are who are transporting the goods, right. So, for that they should know that what is the operating cost. Ascertaining the price at which the vehicle should be hired out, the price at which the vehicle should be hired out. Comparing the cost of using own motor vehicles and that of using alternative forms of transport. Comparing the cost of using own motor vehicles and the alternative modes of transport. Ascertaining what should be charged against the departments or others using the service. So, ultimately it boils down to the pricing, right. So, cost unit. So, what is the cost unit? Absolute weighted average tons per kilometers, right. The sum total of tons kilometers arrived at by multiplying various distances by respective load quantities carried, right. So, how to calculate the absolute ton kilometer in case of a transport company? The distance, the first distance into the quantity that has been carried through that distance. Then another distance which has been served by the transporter into the quantity. So, like this we can keep on adding like this, okay, to calculate the absolute ton kilometer. Commercial simple average tons per kilometers, it is the formula is simple. Formula is commercial ton kilometer is total distance into average quantity, right. So, total distance into average quantity. So, here is one example. A lorry starts with a load of 20 tons of goods from station A. So, it starts with 20 tons of goods station A. It unloads 8 tons at station B. So, it starts from A and it unloads at B. When it is starting with 20, right, 20 metric ton, 20 metric ton, right. At B, it unloads 8 ton. So, 8 metric ton it unloads. Here it uploads 20 metric ton, right. So, rest of it reaches rest of the goods to station C. Then it goes to station C. So, of course, 20 minus 8, that means it is carrying 12 empty here, right, and it unloads 12 empty here, right, and it reaches back directly to station A after getting reloaded with 16 tons. So, it comes back here after getting 16 empty reloaded here. With now, so the distance between A to B and C and then from C to A is 80 kilometers. So, this is A to B, it is 80 kilometer, right, and B to C is 120 kilometer, and then again C to A, it is 160 kilometer, right. So, this is the diagram. So, at A, it is uploading 20 metric ton, then travels 80 kilometer to B, then downloads 8 metric ton there, right. Rest of the 12 metric ton, it again carries for 120 kilometer to C, right, and then it again comes back, right, comes back to A after traveling by traveling 160 kilometer with a fresh load of 16 empty, right. So, at C it gets completely downloaded and takes up again 16 metric ton load and comes back to A after traveling 160 kilometer. The question is compute absolute tons kilometer and commercial tons kilometer, right. Compute absolute tons kilometers and commercial tons kilometers. So, absolute tons kilometers, how much? It is 20 tons into 80 kilometers, this 20 tons into 80 kilometers plus 12 tons into 120 plus 16 tons into 160. So, if I compute, that is coming to 5,600 tons per kilometers, fine, okay. Now, to calculate the commercial tons kilometers, what we need to do is that we need to calculate the average tons. So, average load into total kilometers travelled. How much is the total kilometers travelled? 80 plus 120 plus 160. So, it is coming to 80 plus 120 plus 160 plus 160, right. So, if you add this, it is coming to 360, right. And what is the average load? Average load is 20 plus 12, here it is 12 plus 16 divided by 3. So, it is if you compute this, then the commercial tons kilometers is coming at 5760 tons per kilometers, fine, okay. So, this was the example of a transport company to how to calculate the rates, the cost rates. Now, for preparation of cost sheet, right, for a transport company, right, under transport costing, costs are usually accumulated for a specified period, that is a month or a quarter or a year. All of the accumulated costs should be classified under the following thread, right. Fixed costs or standing charges, right, license fee and insurance, administrative expenses, depreciation and tax, wages of drivers, conductors and cleaners. Variable costs or running charges, fuel, oil, grease, lubricants, etc. Same variable costs or maintenance costs, supervision salary, repairs and maintenance, and garage costs, and tubes and tires, right. So, semi-variable cost or maintenance cost you can add, right. Note, in the absence of information about semi-variable costs, the costs may be shown under two heads only, fixed and variable, right. Depreciation is related to effluxion of time, may be treated as fixed. If it is related to the activity level, it may be treated as variable. Interest, if information about interest is explicitly given, it may be treated as fixed cost. Okay. So, this is the these are the key points in the preparation of cost sheet for a transport company. Now, basically, right, the format may look like this, right. So, these are the standing charges. Standing charges means kind of fixed charges which is going to incur anyway, whether the vehicle moves on the road or not, right. So, for example, the license fees, right, insurance premium, road tax, garage rent, driver's wages if the driver is on the fixed monthly wage, accident cleaners wages, salary and wages of other staff, right. So, these are the standing charges. Then there are running charges. Running charges are repairs and maintenance, cost of fuel, lubricants, cost of tires, tubes and other spare parts, and depreciation. So, if you add these two, it will be total will be A plus B and you will get the total cost. Okay. So, this is the format for the cost sheet for a transport company. So, here is one example again. The Union Transport Company has been given a 20-kilometer long route to ply a bus. The bus costs the company rupees 1 lakh. It has been insured at 3% per annum. The annual road tax amounts to rupees 2000. Garage rent is rupees 400 per month. Annual repair is estimated to cost rupees 2360 and the bus is likely to last for 5 years. The salaries of the driver and the conductor are rupees 600 and rupees 200 per month respectively, in addition to 10% of the takings as commission to be shared equally by them. The manager's salary is rupees 1400 per month and stationery will cost rupees 100 per month. Petrol and oil will cost rupees 50 per 100 kilometers. The bus will make 3 round trips per day, carrying on average 40 passengers in each trip. Assuming 15% profit on the takings and that the bus will ply on an average 25 days in a month, prepare the operating cost statement on a full year basis and also calculate the bus fare to be charged from each passenger per kilometer. So, objective is what? Objective is to calculate the cost of per passenger per kilometer, and so that we can we can calculate the bus fare, right. You can observe from here that some of the expenses here, they are fixed in nature, and like garage rent, for example, it is fixed. The annual road tax, it is fixed, right. Whether the bus moves or not on the road, this has to be paid, right. So, we need to segregate. So, that is why the segregation of fixed cost, variable cost and semi-variable cost is important, right. So, Union Transport Company statement showing a operating cost of the bus per annum. Standing charge means fixed charge, right. Manager's salary, so 1400 per month into 12, rupees 16,800. Driver's salary 600 into 12, rupees 7,200. Conductor's salary 200 into 12, rupees 2400. Road tax rupees 2000. Insurance 3% of 1 lakh, rupees 3000. Garage rent 400 into 12, 4800. Stationery 100 into 12, 1200. Depreciation for 5 years, per year it is 20,000, right? 1 lakh divided by 5 years, it is 20,000. So, these are my costs, right? These are the standing costs. These are the costs which the company will incur even if the bus, doesn't run, per year. Okay. Now, there are maintenance cost and repairs. It is given 2360 rupees. Running charges. Running charges are actually variable costs. These costs usually incur when the bus actually moves on the road, right? Actually on, traveling, right? So, petrol and oil, for example, 36,000 kilometer into 50, right, by 100, it is 18,000. Total cost, if I add, right, that is A, B and C. A is the standing cost, B maintenance and C running charges, then I am getting the cost 77,760. Fine. So, we got this amount 77,760, right. So, add 10% of takings for commission of driver, right, and 15% profit. So, 15 plus 10% is 25%. So, 25% if I calculate, then total taking is 25,920, right, 25,920. That means, if I have to earn rupees 25,920 rupees profit, so how much total revenue I should incur? The total revenue should be 1,03,680. Okay, so this should be my revenue, right? Okay. Now, now this revenue, I need to see that this revenue is coming from traveling how much total distance, right? So, each journey is about 20 kilometer, it is given, and it makes 2 rounds, right? Makes a round trip. So, 2 round into 3 trips, right? And he does it for 25 days in a month and 12 months in a year. So, if I multiply, it is coming 36,000 kilometer per annum, right. So, calculation of bus charge is how much? So, 36 kilometers. So, bus fare, right. So, bus fare, if I assume there are 40 passengers, which is given, right. So, effective passenger kilometer is 14 lakh 40,000, 14 lakh 40,000. So, how it is coming? Again, 2 round trips into 20 kilometer into 3 trips into 40 passengers for 25 days per month and for 12 months, right. Now, for now that means total passenger kilometer is 14 lakh 40,000, 14 lakh 40,000, and this and revenue it is getting is 1,03,680, right. So, if I divide it, right, 1,03,680, so I am getting the rate to be charged per kilometer from each passenger is 0.072, okay, 0.072, okay.